Good morning, aspirants. It's 11th of November today, and I welcome you all on today's edition of What to Read in the Hindu newspaper. I'm 𝗗𝗶𝗹𝘆 𝗡𝗏, Senior Mentor at Prepp IAS. While going through the articles, we will not only see its relevance with regard to prelims and mains, but we'll also try and interlink it with other GS papers as well. I am here to align your newspaper reading as a part of our GS syllabus. So let's get started. The very first article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention from our exam perspective is about rising air pollution triggers protest at India Gate, residents demand action. Now, when we map this particular article in our syllabus, this will fall under GS paper 3 under the theme environment, pollution control. Also relevant for GS paper 2 governance, wherein citizen rights and accountability can be linked. The key theme that can be linked while going through this particular article is about civic activism over worsening air quality and governance reform. For prelims perspective, we need to know about the AQI categories and graded action response plan, that is GRAP plan with regard to rising air pollution in NCR region. We got to know the stages and the trigger points. Afterwards, certain institutions are to be read and revised. For instance, CAQM, that is Commission for Air Quality and Management, whether that's a statutory body or constitutional body, executive body, which it is, its function and its jurisdiction. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of GS paper 3, wherein issues of pollution management and policy and inefficiency can be quoted. Also relevant for GS paper 2, role of citizen and civil society in environmental governance is to be analyzed. For ethical perspective, Article 21 could be linked, wherein environmental justice and people's right to clean air can be linked. Afterwards, SDG 13 that talks about climate action, and also DPSP 48A can be linked. This is how this particular article is to be holistically read and revised from today's paper edition. The next important article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention is on editorials page, and that talks about greater openness, relevant for GS paper 3 environment, conservation of wildlife. Also relevant for GS paper 2 transparency and accountability in governance. The key theme that has been discussed over here is about wildlife management, transparency in judicial and executive process, and India's compliance with CITES norm. For prelims perspective, we need to know about what exactly is CITES, that is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, what is its objective, and what is the structure for it. Afterwards, we got to revise about Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 and the recent amendment with regard to it, its provision of zoos and animal trade. Another angle and another GS paper, this particular article holds importance is about GS paper for ethics, wherein administrative challenges and wildlife conservation from ethics perspective can be explored. For GS paper 2 as well, wherein need for greater transparency in reports and institutional accountability can be linked. This is how this particular article is to be read and revised. The next very important article that I found interesting enough and is relevant for our paper is about does India needs nutritional transformation, relevant for GS paper 2 social justice under the theme health and nutrition, and also for GS paper 3 science and tech, wherein biotechnology and food security as a part of our syllabus can be linked. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about transition from food security to nutritional security, functional food and smart protein choices. For prelims perspective, we need to know about what is functional foods, what is biofortification, what is nutrigenomics, FSSAI, and BioE3 policy. This particular article has widely discussed it. Afterwards, the institution that I can filter out while going through this particular article and that we need to revise is about role of DBT, BIRAC, ICAR, SAT. Then their roles are to be explored. For mains perspective, we need to know what government policy for nutrition, Eat Right movement of FSSAI, role of biotech in sustainable development, which all fortified foods are being allowed in India. This is how this particular article is to be read and revised. The peripheral important observations with regard to report perspective that can be quoted over is Hunger Report Index and also National Family Health Survey, 5 observations is to be revised while going through this particular article, right? This is how this is to be read holistically. Then the next important article that is there in the paper and can be read and revised is about the Descendant Claim Neglect House of Bankim Chandra. So this is relevant majorly for our history GS1 paper, wherein the role of freedom fighters and their contribution in national struggle can be underlined. Relevant for GS paper 1, wherein firstly the culture aspect of modern history and literature heritage can be linked. Also relevant for GS paper 2, wherein federalism and state governance can be linked. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article is about heritage neglect and politicization of cultural memory can be linked. For prelims perspective, we need to know about the role of Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, which all writings from him is quite famous, who his compositions with regard to it, and you have to answer me, national song is written by whom? Heritage site under state versus a central government, who controls it, and also the governance with regard to guidelines it. For mains perspective, we need to know the role of cultural icons in national identity. For GS paper 2, political accountability in preserving heritage. So this could be an area unfurled upon peripheral aspects also while going through this particular article. The next very important article that is there in the paper and that one should not miss while going through today's paper is about 𝗍𝐿 𝐿 gets a close look at eruptions from sun. So relevant for again GS paper 3, science and tech. The key theme that has been tried to discuss in this particular article is about India's solar mission breakthrough, wherein we are trying to understand sun's outer corona with the help of our 𝗍𝐿 𝐿 mission. For prelims perspective, we need to know about 𝗍𝐿 𝐿 mission, its objective, what is Lagrangian point, what is the instrument like VELC, then what is CME, that is coronal mass ejection, its basics and implication for satellite and communication systems. For mains perspective, we need to analyze this particular article from the angle of significance of indigenous space capabilities and global collaborations with premier institutions such as NASA. Right. So this is how this particular article is to be linked. Also, in another arena that one can address and one can think about while going through particular article is about ISRO primarily has a portfolio of launching a lot of lunar and planetary satellites. So nowadays, reaching to solar mission and other planets is a milestone that ISRO is trying to achieve. So this is how this could be linked as a thought process, and also one can give it an example while quoting an argument in essay as well. The last important article for the day is about climate change imbalance in fertilizer use impacts soil organic carbon, says ICAR studies. Now relevant for GS paper 3, agriculture, environment. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about soil health degradation due to fertilizer misuse and climate factors. For prelims perspective, we need to know about soil organic carbon, its significance, correlation with micronutrient. Institutions such as ICAR or ICAR, FAO, Indian Institute of Soil Sciences, concepts such as agri-ecological base maps, carbon credit, land degradation neutrality is to be revised. For mains perspective, this particular article is relevant. Sustainable agriculture, fertilizer policy, soil health card, and climate smart practices can be read and revised. This is how this article is to be holistically seen, read, and revised. This is all from my end for today's Hindu newspaper. Till we meet for the next time, take care and goodbye.